Hello, Dr. Bednarski.
Hey,
So we
Hello.
renamed Dr. Bednarski to Dr. J. Bed. Dr. J. Bed.
Dr. J Bed.
Dr. J. Bed. I like it.
Oh, maybe not. Let's try and prop this up. Uh, yeah, sorry, I was running a bit behind. I had to shower and make myself presentable for you guys.
Okay. So there's 5 attendees so far.
Cool.
All right. All right. Just to give you guys a little numbers, we had about 200 views of the links and close to 70 people registered. There's probably 5 to 7 of those that are my colleagues. So.
Cool. Turn off this light. Lights are kind of not. Blinding you guys. All right.
So you went home and changed and everything? Or is that what you worked in?
Oh, yeah, that's what I worked in. No, I actually got done early today. My last one canceled. I was working with one assistant, so we kind of lightened the schedule despite it being end of month. And then my last patient just didn't show up, so I left at like 4. It's a nice Thursday after it's been a really long week, so.
So I just want to let you all know our attendees can hear us. So they are on and ready. So I just want to welcome everybody that's joined so far. It is 6:57. My name is Jeff Winchell and I'm one of the hosts. I am the host here and we have a few panelists that we'll introduce soon. My background, I've been with Aspen Dental for 8 years, working on the academic and industry relations team for 7 of those years. So I've been working with dental students a long time. We'll touch base with you all in a little bit as more people are joining. Thank you. So you don't have to be quiet, panelists. You can talk freely.
Yeah, it's been a week, so it's nice to be done early. But Jeff, do you know Dr. Laura Cunningham?
Laura Cunningham. I know Beverly Cunningham.
He graduated from Tufts.
Laura Cunningham?
Yeah, she works for Dr. T up in Saugus.
Cool.
Anyways, I'm meeting up with her after this to go grab a beverage. So I didn't know if you knew her, but whatever. Never mind.
Saugus.
Saugus. She works up in Saugus. It's okay.
I've been hanging out with my cousins who have such a thick Boston accent. They lived in the city from the time they were like 5 to 15.
Dude, you run into like a handful of them and you're just like, whoa, that is a thick accent. Like,
I love it.
There's all these towns I've never heard of in Massachusetts. I've never heard of Saugus. Like, and I used to call Peabody, and people would laugh at me. I was like, what, Peabody? And they're like, no, girl, it's Peabody.
Well, listen, you know what? I've worked in 40 states for Aspen Dental. It's been amazing. And I'll tell you what, every state's like that. Every state has crazy names, so.
That's true. I'm from
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Just a minute to reintroduce myself. Welcome everybody who's just joining us. My name is Jeff Winchell. I'm with Aspen Dental. I work on the academic and industry relations team. I've been in this role in one way or another for 7 years. And I'll be your host. In just a minute, we'll get started. Thank you for your patience. Go ahead, Joel. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Here wants to say hi. Hi,
There
everyone.
you go, a little entertainment. I like it.
Ari, where did you say you're from? Louisiana?
Yeah, I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. Do you hear my southern twang? Like a little bit? Just a wee bit.
Dr. Choi, I like to say that I've been to New Orleans 3 times, and it's winning 2-1. New Orleans is up 2-1 on me. So great times, great music.
New Orleans is very fun.
It's winning.
Have you been with a local though? It's key to not dying.
I've met locals. I've spent some time with locals, you know, cruising the neighborhood, but I didn't go with a local. I didn't know anybody there. No.
Did you go for like just for fun, for work?
Twice
We're
was
looking
work,
both.
but it was still fun. You know how we do it at Aspen Dental, and one personal. It was a great, actually, I think it was 2015, American Dental Association had their annual session there. And it was during Halloween, and it was fantastic.
Oh, perfect timing.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, like every year for Halloween, they usually have Voodoo Fest, and it's so much fun. And like people dress up and they get crazy. I'm sure it's like crazy in the quarter too that weekend.
Amazing underground rock. My girlfriend went and like Snapchatted the whole thing for multiple years, and every single year I try and remember the rock bands that she introduces to me, and never do.
Cool.
Awesome. It's 7:01, and I'm going to introduce myself for the final time. My name is Jeff Winchell. I am with Aspen Dental. I'm the host. I've been with Aspen Dental for 8 years, 7 of them with the academic and industry relations team, working with dental students. It's been awesome. I want to welcome everybody. First and foremost, I want to let everybody know that this is an Aspen Dental Ask Me Anything, but we are teaming up with the folks from ASDA District 1. And I do want to have a special shout out. Thank you very much, Aaliyah, for helping putting this together. And also, she may or may not be on, but Gianna was very instrumental. So thank you very much, Gianna. A round of applause for her. Listen, today is an Ask Me Anything. And what that means is quite literally, you can ask anything you want. And it's intended for the audience and the guests to drive the content. And our panelists, who are going to introduce themselves momentarily, will answer the questions for the most part. Because we are teaming up with ASDA District 1, you could ask questions that pertain to while you're still in dental school as well. I have no problem with that. They're our business partners. All of our panelists were really, really heavily involved with ASDA during their career, or currently are involved with ASDA. So they have a lot to offer from that standpoint as well. And with that said, without further ado, I will start with Dr. Justine Bednarski. You have the floor. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Cool. Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
So like Jeff said, I'm Dr. Justine, Dr. JB, Dr. J Bed, whatever we're calling me these days. But I'm a 2018 grad from the Ohio State. I'm new-ish to the Boston area. So I moved out here right after graduation, and I'm currently in downtown Boston. So that's why I got kind of invited here to be with District 1. But I've been with Aspen for 2 years. I started as an associate for a practice center that has 9 practices. So I was kind of floating between a couple different locations. And then I ended up kind of transitioning into a lead role in December of 2018, officially promoted in May of 19, just because we were kind of transitioning me into that role as a managing clinical director. So I've been with them for 2 years, going on 3. I thought I was going to be a 1-year thing, and I'm still with Aspen because I'm happy and loving it. Mostly Jeff's to be of help with that. But yeah, originally from the Chicago area, living in Boston, not really sure where the end goal is, but I'm super happy out here. So that's me.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And I want to say that Dr. Bednarski is doing double time. She was also on an Ask Me Anything last night. So thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Dr. Ari Choi, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Jeff. So like Jeff said, I'm Dr. Ari Choi, which sounds really weird to me because I haven't even started working. I'm actually going to start working in a Dallas-Fort Worth area office next week. That's opening up on August 6th, and we're doing our soft opening on August 4th. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. I went to LSU for undergrad. I worked a cornucopia of jobs. You name it, I've worked it. I was a specialist at Apple, manager at Abercrombie, optician, until I finally figured out I wanted to do dentistry after I was a dental assistant. And then I went to Mississippi College and got my master's in medical sciences, and then applied for dental school, and I ended up going to Tufts, and I graduated with the infamous COVID class this past May. We had a virtual graduation, which was very interesting and not what I expected. But yeah, I've been here in Fort Worth for probably the past like 3 months. And I will be starting next week in Grand Prairie with Dr. Ali, who's my practice owner.
That's awesome. And I'm sure there's going to be a ton of questions about the process between signing and now. So get ready. And last but certainly not least, our resident student here on the panel, Aaliyah, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Aaliyah Osseron. I'm calling in from Meredith, New Hampshire, because like so many of you, my school didn't exactly know what to do with me, and so I got a summer vacation this year. I am your District 1 trustee for ASDA, and I am Ari, I don't know if you guys know this, but Ari was my original ASDA mentor. She taught me so much about how to survive, as well as the ins and outs of organized dentistry. I, like her, am a non-traditional student, have spent some time dental assisting, and I also have my master's in public health. So when I'm not spending my spare time on ASDA, I'm spending my spare time on my nonprofit to educate children in low and middle income countries. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys. I hope I can offer something, and if nothing else, I'm really excited to spend some time with our doctors tonight.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you very much. Again, I want to reiterate that you all as attendees drive the content with your questions, so keep them coming. There's been a handful of questions so far, and I have your pre-questions that you submitted when you registered as well. So, you know, we're going to get into that momentarily. Look, for those who are brand new to what Aspen Dental is a branded DSO. We're the largest branded DSO in definitely the United States, most likely the world. We're a 22-year-old organization. One of the unique, factors of Aspen Dental is that our dentists actually get the opportunity to purchase, own, and operate their own practices under the Aspen Dental name, and it's Aspen Dental Management, Inc. that supports them. And that's really, really important to know. So with your guys' bios, and I want to thank you all again for joining us, we have a question that was submitted earlier, and it was, hey, look, I plan on moving back to Texas after graduation and, from BU. What opportunities are available? And I think this is a really good place to start, and ask Dr. Ari Choi how she sort of navigated to get to exactly where she wanted to be in Fort Worth.
Okay, so I don't know what area of Texas you're trying to be at, because Texas is its own country of its own. But for me, my fiance actually has a job here in Fort Worth, so it was very like, I had to be here. So Dave LaPointe, I've worked with him a lot over the past few years. He was academic relations manager at that time. And I told him, I was like, look, like, I love Aspen Dental, I love you, but if you can't get me a job like in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I can't work for Aspen. And so the DFW area is actually like growing substantially, and they're just opening up locations left and right. I know like Aspen pops up a new office, like I know it's over 800 practices now, but they say like one practice pops up every 4 days, right? 4 or 6 days, something like that, which is
Every 4 days.
Every 4 days. Okay, cool. I got my stats right. So anyways, so I told him this, and he's like, you know what? Like, you have to work for Aspen. I was fundraising chair as a District 1 as well. So I've been in constant contact with Aspen Dental reps and all the academic relation managers prior. So he basically set me up with a talent acquisition manager down here, Jim, and I was talking to him. This was like a year and a half out. So we kept the conversation going. And he hooked me up with the right people, regional managers, and basically set me up on an interview. Obviously, none of the offices in the DFW area opened up, so I had to go kind of out to go meet one of the regional managers. I met with her. We spent like an hour and a half together, but it seemed like 10 minutes. And then a few days after that, I got an offer, and they're like, look, like, none of the offices have opened up. There's like no practice owners, but we want you to work, when one of the offices pop up. So I signed like a year out before graduating. So
Great.
Yeah. that's my story with Aspen.
Well, thank you very much. That was awesome. So I guess the point is, there are opportunities all over the country, and, go after what you really want, what's important to you, whether that be location, whether that be a mentor, etc. So you went with exactly what was important to you, and you pushed and got it. I think Dr. Bednarski has a similar story. She wanted to be in Boston, but before you get into that, Dr. Bednarski, a question just came in, and I'm going to read it word for word. How would you say working for Aspen Dental is right out of school compared to doing a GPR or AGD? Now, note, everybody, when she answers this, she did not work for an AGD or GPR, so she can only answer how she's working at Aspen.
Yeah, so great transition because I was going to go into how I landed here, but long story short, I actually wanted to do a GPR myself. I didn't feel like I was clinically ready to work. You're in dental school, you were in clinic for 2 years. I struggled finding patients in school because I wasn't from the Columbus area, and my not practice owner, but my practice leader professor wasn't really setting me up with what I needed to require, for requirement's sake. So I kind of graduated at the bare minimum, and I didn't feel ready. So I applied for a GPR actually. And to me, doing a GPR, I wanted to do the best of the best. So I only applied to a handful across the country and all in big cities because living in a big city was important to me, especially with my upbringing in Chicago. I just really wanted to kind of thrive in a bigger network of people. So I applied, I interviewed at a program in Colorado. I was super excited. The interview went great. And I found out on match day in January, with my graduation in May, that I actually wasn't going to be admitted in the program. So I was thinking about doing a post-match. And again, I didn't want to do a GPR just to do a GPR. I didn't think it was worthwhile. So then I actually reached out to Jeff kind of frantically in February and was like, listen, I need a job and I don't know what to do. And Aspen's always, seemed like a good company to work for. Everyone's really happy. All of the reps that I had met along the way, because I was involved in ASDA as well, like Ari, in the past. So I reached out and I kind of on a whim kind of wanted to move to the Boston area. And Jeff kind of laughed at me and said, that's not going to happen because they're not hiring.
I didn't say it wasn't. I said it was going to be difficult.
Yeah, I remember sitting in my car. I'm in at school and I'm sitting in my car about to drive home and I'm on the phone with Jeff and he's like, yeah, you're picking a really tough city. There's 3 dental schools with hundreds of students graduating, but we'll try to figure it out. And I chatted with one practice owner. They weren't hiring. Another one wasn't hiring. And then finally my last chance, Dr. Arun took me on as an associate. And it's been a good fit. So I can't speak on behalf of, is it better to do a GPR or to go to practice? But what I can say is that you are more prepared than you think you are out of school. Like I said, I really didn't think I had the clinical skills because I just didn't really do much. I did the bare minimum. But you kind of see, even in your first month of practice, then in your first 6 months, then in your first year, and then you evaluate another year out. And it's like, wow, I've learned so much along the way. So it's not that you're not prepared. It's, it's anxious and it's, tough to build your confidence right away, but no one expects you to be an expert on day one out of school anyways either. So typically working as an associate, you have your practice owner as a mentor that, they want you to succeed as well. No one's going to force you to rush into, being the best dentist on day one. Take your time, develop your clinical skills, and then from there, you can grow and expand upon, more knowledge or more procedures, more advanced procedures, things like that. So to me, I don't really feel like I missed out by not doing a GPR because with Aspen, I did gain that experience pretty quickly on with the amount of patients we see a day. But, if that's something that is important to you that you really want to do, by all means, still go for the GPR or the AGD. And you can always think about Aspen or private practice after. It's, it's really up to you and what you think is going to be best for you. But I can say that it's not as hard and it's not as bad as.
What I love about Dr. Bednarski's story is that she knew exactly what she wanted to do when she came out, and she wasn't choosing a GPR to go to it. I hear that time and time again from, GPRs and AGDs that I go into to visit, from our own dentist, knowing what you want out of your first job, whether that be a GPR, community health center, DSO, smaller group practice, knowing what you want and what's important to you is probably the most important thing. And if you can find that in whatever you choose, then you're already ahead of the game, in my opinion. So the questions are rolling in here. Dr. Choi, I have a question for you before I get to a few that I think are fantastic. Do you have an MCD that you're going to be working alongside, a lead dentist that you're going to be working beside, and who do you feel is going to be your mentor as you move forward?
So at the new office I'm working at, the MCD or the lead dentist is actually, they're new to the company as well, but my practice owner, she actually graduated in 2018, but she has like thrived like within the past 2 years, and now she's about to own 6 practices in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So she's gotten a lot of, like knowledge and wisdom and skills down, and she is gonna be a great mentor. Like I've already met with her like a few times, and she's just like, she's holding my hand, but she's like, whenever you're ready to let go, I'll let go. And I really do want to be a lead dentist within like 6 months. So I feel like she's going to really help me get there. And then she's also going to, teach the new MCD that we do have at the new office, the skills that they need to be a great mentor to myself as well. So I think like hand in hand, I'm going to have to use both of them as mentors,
Fantastic. So, just to break here for a moment, we were using words like associate in MCD. MCD is a lead dentist at Aspen Dental. An associate is, kind of an add-on dentist to, start their career. Mostly, right out of school, you're hired as an associate, right out of a GPS program, and just joining Aspen Dental. So thank you for that. And Dr. Ali is going to be fantastic. All right. So she's going to be a fantastic mentor. She's one of my favorites. Aaliyah, is that something that the ASDA, is that a topic of discussion within ASDA? It's something you try to encourage people to go after and make sure that they find a good mentor? And how is that done?
So particularly for District 1, this is an issue that's near and dear to our hearts. District 1 is currently piloting the only district-wide mentorship program in the country. So we have all 5 dental societies have signed on to help mentor and match mentorships among dental students within District 1. So basically New England. But regardless of where you work, every single lecture I have ever been to on business or ASDA leadership conferences or you name it, every single one says it doesn't matter where you are, what matters is your relationship with your mentor. And that's going to have the biggest impact on your first few years out.
Great. So a question just came in, and I believe that Dr. Bednarski is going to be, I have 2 questions for you, Dr. Bednarski, but one, can you describe your degree of autonomy in terms of treatment planning, patient care, etc., since you've started working at Aspen Dental?
Yeah, so now being in a managing role, I do have full autonomy. In the beginning as an associate, obviously I wasn't really seeing my patients that I had treatment plans, so I was working off of other doctors' treatment plans. But if I didn't agree with something, I could voice it and nobody would really throw me, to the wolves or anything like that. So I had a couple, disagreements or maybe misunderstandings with some x-rays where fillings were treatment plan. Maybe I didn't feel like they needed to be done, but then, the doctor would kind of show me the x-ray in a different light or whatever, kind of re-explain the way they had treatment planned. But no one's going to force you to do anything. Nobody has forced me to do endo. I don't do any root canals. I haven't done one since school, not because I don't want to, but because I don't feel like I'm the best clinician to do that. With my skill set, I think it's served in better procedures. So we have an endodontist that comes once a month to our office. We also have a surgeon that comes once a month. So by having specialists in-house, I decided to treatment plan to them. But now, like I said, as an MCD, and even when I was an associate with a little bit more experience and seeing more new patients, you develop your own treatment plans, and you will learn from your own treatment planning what's been successful, what maybe wasn't as successful as you had hoped. But no one's going to, force you to treatment plan a certain way. With that in mind, what you do treatment plan, you do have to do for your patients. Sometimes I've run into situations where I did a huge restoration that I'm like, oh crap, I really wish I wouldn't have treatment plan that, because it was more difficult than I expected. So you kind of have to keep in mind what you treatment plan is what you will be doing as a clinician too.
I think there's certainly a learning curve in everything that we do. Going back to the mentorship question too, I just want to add that, all of our MCDs and owners go through a mentorship development program. We understand how important mentorship is to the young dentists that come on board. So they actually go through, training, formalized training to actually, be that mentor. And everybody is paired with them. In addition, we have clinical directors that their sole job is to go to offices and work side by side with clinicians, younger clinicians that maybe want to learn something new, are struggling with, either, patient care or treatment planning, or need a little help in something such as, some of the tougher procedures and stuff like that. We have a whole team dedicated to that. So just like Aaliyah was saying, that's one of the most important hot topics, hot buttons, so to speak, for them. It has been for Aspen Dental for a very long time now. And as a matter of fact, after Dr. Bednarski got hired at our annual award ceremony, her owner dentist won Mentor of the Year. And I actually FaceTimed her while he was going up to accept the award. It's the most prestigious award we have at Aspen Dental, and I remember that. So it was a fantastic moment. So that was awesome. Okay, I have another one. I guess Dr. Choi, I'm reading this word for word. I'm just starting my 4th year. What's a good time to start the job search with Aspen Dental and cities and states, and what I'm interested in and where I'm moving to?
I would say as soon as possible. You need a...
Stop right there. No, go ahead. I'm joking with you.
As soon as possible, because if you're looking for, this is like with any job, if you want a specific location, and especially usually when people want to go to specific locations, usually a city, somewhere where it's a little more popular. So you need to get in touch with the recruiter and make sure you tell them, I want to go here, but obviously they're not going to just give it to you. So you're going to have to talk with them, go shadow some offices, and you just need to communicate and tell them exactly what you need. And if you guys both align right, then you'll get what you want. And if you don't, then you'll find it elsewhere,
Yeah, something important I think that you mentioned is, we do our best, and we're try to be as transparent as possible as an organization. And one of the things that we do is make sure that every person that is interested in learning more about Aspen Dental, whether it's during an interview, in their 3rd year, whatever, we have shadow days. And almost all of our clinicians and our offices welcome in, dentists looking for jobs or looking to learn a little bit more. They're all very, very good at that. We want to make sure that you are as informed as possible before you make any decisions. So that's something that we really, truly believe in. So thank you very much. And again, as soon as possible is a great answer, because at the end of the day, networking is big in all aspects of life, and networking within the field of dentistry, you can only get better. So that's awesome. Thank you very much. Dr. Bednarski, this one's going to be for you, and I'm going to read it verbatim. How do you think Aspen Dental has done supplying PPE and navigating COVID?
Yeah, so it's definitely been a strange time in all things life, dentistry included. So as far as PPE, I feel totally safe at work. Long story short, I was working all the way up until mid-March, and then our practice owner decided to close all of his practices. That wasn't across the board with all of Aspen Nation. It was practice owner specific. Some stayed open. And we're seeing just emergencies, and obviously state specific too. Massachusetts is one of the strictest states in the country. So for that, we just, Arun chose to close down all of his practices And we thought it was going to be for 2 weeks, and then it turned into 4 weeks, and then it turned into 8 weeks, and finally was back a little before Memorial Day weekend. And with that, I mean, we didn't go back until we had proper PPE in the office. That was mandatory number one. I actually found this out from Ruby yesterday that Aspen is one of the biggest consumers of PPE in the country or in the world, as far as like an organization besides the government. I think that's what she said. So yeah, I don't know if that's,
but all right.
yeah. But yeah, in the beginning, I mean, things were scarce, and we had to be very sparing with what we were using with gloves and the N95s. But basically now I wear a N95 mask, and then with a level 3 mask over it, so I can wear my N95 for like a couple days to kind of ride it out. I wear a face shield with my loops as well, so it's just a lot on my ears and on my face. Then we have disposable gowns. I usually wear a lab coat over my scrubs. I used to wear business clothes, now I wear scrubs to work. I have a pair of gym shoes I leave at work. But as far as PPE and safety measures, a couple new things, we screen every single patient that walks in the door with a COVID questionnaire. The doors are locked. Patients are not allowed to come inside until they've called us. And then an assistant or someone from the front will come and grab them with gloves on. We check their temperatures. Everyone in the office who's working, myself, staff, everyone checks their temperatures every day. We go through the questionnaires personally and have a log of that to make sure everyone's, being safe. And then from there, we seat the patients. We have them swish with a peroxide solution to just kind of lessen the bacterial load in their mouth a little bit. And we've been social distancing at work to the best we can. I mean, we're still trying to see as many patients as possible because of, all the months I've worked for Aspen, I've never seen so many new patients in my life. Everyone's coming back, and everyone has an issue. Everyone wants to be seen. I don't know if it's because a lot of practices are still, coming back slowly, and Massachusetts is a slower state. I don't know, but we've been seeing tons of new patients. So we do want to treat as many people as possible, but also staying safe. But I haven't felt unsafe.
Can you talk a little bit, how are the patients triaged in your office?
Triage, like,
how are
COVID?
they checked in? How many people are in the waiting room?
Yeah, so nobody's in the waiting room. Everyone has to wait outside or wait in their cars before they're seen. We try and, extend times during the day to kind of stagger patients. I have a 5-operatory practice, which is actually kind of small for Aspen. So we're trying to see, not as many people at the same hour, but nobody is allowed to kind of walk in and out at the same time. But like I said, everyone has to call into our office. We do the pre-screen form asking if they've been out of state in the last 14 days, if they've been around anyone who was tested positive for COVID, if they themselves have been tested positive. If they have, we need to have documentation that they're cleared from a physician, not from a lab. So we've had maybe 2 or 3 patients in the last couple of months that were tested positive. So that's been kind of challenging to navigate on, when we can see them and what we should be doing. And then we ask them, the standard questions of symptoms if they're experiencing any of them. And then as soon as they're ready, as soon as we're ready for them, actually, because sometimes, we don't have a room for them available yet, we'll take their cell phone number and just ask them to wait in the car. The day before, we're also telling them that wait times are longer than usual. Everyone, for the most part, has been understanding. We've had a couple of people who are snippy with us, but for the most part, people know that we're doing the best we can.
I think you're doing a great job, Dr. Bednarski. The one time I FaceTimed with you, I thought you were calling with a spacesuit on. So, I didn't know if you were spacewalking or what was going on there. So, fantastic. Yeah, listen, we've done a lot. In the last question, or, your statement with regards to what, we have offices are supposed to have 30 days of PPP on hand at all time for emergencies, right? So that just tells you, and we're able to do that because we are the largest client, or I guess consumer of Henry Schein products, who's basically our supplier. besides the government. I think that that's kind of what was going on there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So we have a ton more questions that I have to get to. If you, geez, question is perfect. I'm going to read the question and then kind of give the answer and then let you guys. If you are hired to work for Aspen in one state and have to move to another state, how easy is it to transfer to another office if the spot is available? And why I laughed at that was because I'm sitting here and I'm getting text messages from a former VP of National ASDA, Dr. Niveditha Rajagopalan, and she's telling me about her moving to her third city currently. So Dr. Niv, who, as we call her, actually started in the Chicagoland area. About 6 months later, ended up in Pennsylvania. She's been an MCD for over 2.5 years there, and she is moving to the Philadelphia market as we speak, and potentially buying the very first office in Philadelphia. So I think what that means is she's not alone, and we have at any given time over 1,300 clinicians working at Aspen Dental, and very, very few of them actually start and finish their career in the same office or maybe even in the same city. We're very, very accommodating when it comes to that, and if anybody wants to get in touch with any of our clinicians that have made those types of moves, there's tons of opportunities to do that. Anything to add on that, Dr. Bednarski?
Yeah, I think it depends on who's going to have an availability for you. And, it depends on if you want to then go into ownership or if you want to be another MCD and mentorship and things like that. But I think once you're in the Aspen network and, you've been successful in it, Aspen doesn't want to lose you as a doctor just because you need to move. Obviously, you being successful as a clinician means it's a sign of their success too. So again, if you are doing well and, making leaps and bounds in your own clinical skills and then developing into more, business related things like in a managerial role, like, myself as an MCD, I would hope that, Aspen would be willing to take me out in a different state. It depends on the need. But I think once you're in the network, they really don't like losing doctors, especially, after you've been developed and you've learned the way Aspen runs their schedule. And, we do a lot more dentures than private practice. And just knowing the types of patients that we see, it's an easy transition from office to office. Like I talk to my friends who work for Aspen in different states, and we all have similar schedules, similar patients, similar procedures that we're doing. So we all kind of, work similarly enough that I feel like another practice owner would be working in the same style as my practice owner, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Look, there's a few questions in here that I want to kind of combine. And I want to ask Aaliyah, and actually Dr. Choi and Dr. Bednarski, you could all kind of add in this. How important is continuing education, and is that something that ASDA promotes as well as far as moving forward? Aaliyah, you can start with that one.
Continuing education, as I hope we all know, is actually mandatory. And so there are state regulations on how much you're required to do depending on what state you live in. But dental school's job is not to make you an expert. I know my school does an amazing job at kind of building us up and saying like, you're a dentist, you're an expert, you're a leader in the field. But really, what I've heard is that most of us kind of have that feeling that Dr. Bednarski had, where we're not sure if we're ready to actually do these things unsupervised when we graduate. And on top of that, there are some procedures that we've only done once or twice when we graduate. And so in my mind, I will stay involved in organized dentistry so that I can go to the ADA convention and do the continuing ed and see all my ASDA friends, but also because I want to be a great dentist. And dental school is going to make me competent, and continuing ed is going to make me amazing.
Awesome. Dr. Bednarski, do you have any comments with regards to CE?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. but Aspen does provide quite a bit of CE. There's a huge network of like online stuff that you can do on your own. Pretty much every office now has an iTero scanner, and Aspen has had a huge push with Invisalign. So we all took a CE course and got certified in Invisalign, even if you already did in dental school, or even if you already had a certification as it was. We all got certified in that. I was able to go to Chicago for a week-long course called Edge, where that's kind of, Aspen driven, and you kind of learn a little bit more about the company and, utilizing your schedule, developing your mentorship and, leadership skills, things like that. So we got, I think, like 13 credits of CE that week, just from various, courses and lectures throughout the days. And then I also had the privilege to do an implant course last summer with my practice owner. So that was, not sponsored by Aspen. It was kind of through Dr. Arun, but had I not been working for him or for the company, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go. Now that was something that was self-funded. The other ones were funded through Aspen. So it kind of depends on your practice owner and, what they value and what CE, if there's certain CE that you want to take, you can always ask them if they will sponsor you to, take the course if it's a money issue or whatever, especially if it's going to help better their practice at the end of the day. But you can also do CE on your own accord too if you want. No one's really going to stop you from going to do a CE course. If you have to take time off, then that's something you talk about with your practice owner as needed. But like Leah said, every state, requires certain hours of CE, so you do have to stay on top of it. But Aspen does provide quite a bit. So there is opportunity to have CE that's already paid for.
Yeah, a few things I want to mention there is EDGE, which is Energizing Dentists and Growing Excellence. That's the acronym, I believe it is. That's been in place. Just Dr. Bednarski, were you there in Syracuse or Chicago?
I was in Chicago, so I was at the new building.
All right.
I didn't go in my first 6 months like you're supposed to. Arun likes to send his doctors when they're more in like MCD status. Mm-hmm. So I went in October of last year. So I was already working for the company about a year and a couple months.
Fantastic. Yeah, just listen to everybody. In the last 5 years, Aspen Dental has grown by leaps and bounds as it relates to technologies and the gold standard treatments, whether it be, Invisalign, as Dr. Bednarski, mentioned, or implants or cone beams or whatever it is, we're right there. And it's all led by our chief clinical officers team, right? He's a dentist, graduated from NYU, and he has a group of 10 people that work for him or so. And then he also oversees the learning and development. And that's what EDGE is. So there's tons of that. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention that our CE program that we offer to our own dentists in network is also available to every dentist and any clinician in dental care. And that is aspendentalce.com. If anybody, including students, goes on aspendentalce.com, they can log in and get free CE credits. Just to your point, Aaliyah, it's a really big part of what we do. And we understand that, you come out of dental school and you're not completely prepared. One thing we couple with mentorship is fantastic in state-of-the-art CE. So please visit that site if you'd like to. So Justina, Dr. Bednarski, I should say, this is a question from you too. What is your experience in developing relationships with patients as a new dentist or associate, as opposed to, I guess, a new dentist?
Yeah, so I feel like it's a little tough and daunting as an associate. However, when you're an associate and you're working with another doctor in the office, you will have your own column of patients. So typically, a typical schedule with Aspen as a managing doctor, you have a procedure column, you have a new patient column, and then you have an overflow column, which is mostly denture steps and post-ops and kind of the more quick appointments, I would say. And then your procedures are going to be all of your dental procedures as far as extractions, crowns, fillings, implants, whatever that's in your procedure chair. When you're a second doctor in the office, there's actually going to be a fourth column and maybe even a fifth column that's going to be a second procedure chair and maybe a second overflow chair too. So with that, I was able to, kind of see the same patients that needed maybe multiple fillings in multiple quads, or they needed, a little bit more work than just a one appointment thing. So I did get to develop my own rapport with those patients, even though I maybe didn't see them for their new patient exam and treatment planned. So, it's fun. You get to see the same patients over and over, especially with dentures. There's typically 5 appointments to a denture. You get to know them really well. They're usually elderly, sometimes not, but they're fun. They're all retired and they just want to come hang out with you. I feel like I have a couple of my patients that literally just come to say hi and they say they need an adjustment when really I don't think they do. But yeah, you develop rapport pretty quick with your patients. And I'm a pretty friendly, outgoing person. And, I would hope that most of you as clinicians want to become, not friends with your patients, but friendly. I ask my patients all the time, if I haven't seen them in a while, how's the dog? How are the kids? How's your summer going? Things like that. And they do appreciate when you make things a little bit more personal as well. But I would say it's pretty easy to start developing that rapport early on in your career too. You don't really have to wait until you're in a managing role to do that. I don't know if that answers your question completely, but.
I think so. You're outlining your relationship with the patients and what you do to increase that and what have you. I think that's great. I'm going to switch gears here just a little bit. I'm going to read this question verbatim, and I think we can put a little perspective on it afterwards. The question is from a very confident individual: how much do you pay a rock star? And I love the question. It's fantastic. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and let Dr. Bednarski and Dr. Choi think about how they get paid, and answer that. So I'll let Dr. Bednarski start. Sorry, Dr. Choi.
Sure. So with Aspen, you do get paid a daily rate that fluctuates per region, but industry standard is usually around like $500 a day. That's pretty standard for the dental career. If you're in,
right there. I think we're up to about 600 a day standard. Keep going.
Oh, cool. Then maybe I should ask for a raise. Anyways, but yeah, so industry, they came up with an industry standard of daily rates. But the one nice thing with Aspen is that daily rate actually never goes away. So whereas most other either private practice or DSOs that I've heard of with my friends that work for other companies, that daily draw will go away after a couple months when maybe you're exceeding it with your production. So it's nice that, we do have that salary to rely on that, again, never, ever, ever goes away as far as I know. And then from there, as you produce per office, even as an associate, your production is a team-based production for the month. From there, you have a potential to profit share or bonus every month. And every month's different. And, production goals are one thing, but you kind of personally will see, if I produce X amount this month, this is how much I profit shared. So it's kind of a little bit fire under your own behind to kind of work a little bit harder. It's not that anyone's forcing me to do more production a day. It's more so I'm seeing the rewards of working a little bit harder. And that's what pushes me to want to build my schedule more and more. But again, even as an associate, I was profit sharing, not just because I was producing as an associate. It was a team effort with my MCD that I was practicing with too.
Right. And Dr. Choi, what is your understanding of the pay?
Well, Dr. Bednarski hit it all on the spot. I have a daily salary rate or a daily rate. So that actually depends on what area you're going to. I have tons of classmates who are actually working for Aspen, and they're all over the US. And depending on if you're in a hotspot place where everyone wants to be at, to a place that has low health, oral health care in that area, you'll get paid more. And there's also a loan repayment program as well. I have a friend who's in Iowa. He's about to start in a few weeks, and he's doing the loan repayment program where it's $20,000 per year on top of his daily salary rate, as well as the profit sharing model. So I think that's what's great about Aspen. They're everywhere throughout the country, and depending on where you want to go and where you want to practice, they can accommodate you. And then of course, coming out of dental school, I went to Tufts. It's not cheap. Okay. So you want to be able to pay those loans back,
Absolutely. So I'll just put my 2 cents in here. So yeah, the model is profit share model. And what that really means is all the clinicians in any single office, kind of contribute to the overall revenue of that office. And at the end of the month, there is a profit, which is, expenses minus, revenue minus expenses, and it's a little goes into that. And the neat thing about Aspen Dental is you get paid off of the entire office's gross profit, not just your own production. And there's a lot of benefit to that. And I'll certainly go offline and talk with anybody online right now to further explain that. But just know we have a compensation model that rewards offices that go above and beyond, and we share profits. And then we have that base salary or daily rate built into it that never goes away, just like that Dr. Bednarski said. And to your point, Dr. Choi, you're in Dallas and she's in Boston, and that's probably why your daily rate's a little bit lower. But I will say this, Dr. Bednarski, since you've been an MCD, have you ever not eclipsed your daily rate with your profit share?
What do you mean?
Your profit share was always more than your daily rate, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think of it as like a per day thing, but I have yet to not have an incentive paycheck, right. If that's
my point. My point is that our compensation model is built so that your daily rate is there just for a security, and you'll have enough patients to treat to be able to eclipse that almost every month. So
the one thing I want to add too is that if you don't produce, what was maybe expected of you, they will never deduct that from your next paycheck or anything like that. I have heard that from other companies, that sometimes if you don't meet production goals, they'll take that away from you from maybe the next month's paycheck or whatever it is. Aspen never penalizes you. So never be like worried if, let's say, you're on call with patients, you're not doing much dentistry for like a week or something, and you're like freaking out, like, oh my God, like I'm going to owe this money. Like, no, they're never going to expect that out of you. They just want you to focus on becoming a better clinician first. So I just want to make that totally clear too.
Right. And it's not all about money. I mean, obviously you've chosen a fantastic, profession that you have the opportunity to earn. But I will say that the compensation model goes above and beyond just what you're compensated in dollars and cents, and it includes the CE, the mentorship, the room for growth. It includes, the actual medical plan. It goes much further than just your compensation. The benefits associated with that, and I consider CE part of that, is top notch and first class in the field of dentistry, in my opinion. So that's that. And one person did just, ask about loan repayment programs in particular. Dr. Bednarski, are you on a loan repayment plan?
Nope, I chose to live in the city, so there was no like rural options out here.
Right.
So no, it's a little bit newer too, so it wasn't really available.
Dr. Choi, I would imagine that's the same for you, correct?
Yeah, same for me.
Yeah. So the loan repayment plan, one great thing, guys, is that every office is owned and operated by an Aspen Dental dentist. So the loan repayment plans, the additional CE not included, your rate of pay, your percentage profit share, all your contract, so to speak, is determined by the owner dentist. So Dr. Bednarski works directly for Dr. Arun, who owns the office, and Dr. Choi will be working directly for Dr. Ali, who owns her office. And so while Aspen Dental is the management company that has suggestive payment, options, it's actually up to the owner dentist to actually carry that out and pay their dentist. So just wanted to put that in there. Question coming in: if you are not currently involved with ASDA, but you were very interested in working with Aspen at this Aspen or ASDA, or working for Aspen at a specific location, how do you get the ball rolling to make that happen? In other words, if you don't know much about us right now, whether it be ASDA or Aspen, how do you get involved? Aaliyah, I will go ahead and let you talk about how do you get involved with ASDA.
Okay. So the easiest way to get involved in District 1 ASDA is follow us on Instagram, ASDA District 1. But talk to some of your friends. In New England, 4 out of the 5 schools are auto enroll, so we're almost all members. And we have events, I'm going to say almost every single week, at Tufts, at Boston University. And we're lucky enough that Aspen actually sponsors and helps us enhance a lot of our events. And what our goal is with our Aspen ASDA events is to increase the opportunities to connect with these companies, so that students can make informed decisions. As we all know, sorry guys, I might have a minor Chihuahua attack. King, hey. So as we all know, business classes are in short supply. And so for me, it's really important that my first job is valuable and that my first job is not blind. And so I want to hear from my ASDA connections, such as Dr. Choi, what her experience is like, so that I can make an informed decision. But long story short, all you have to do is reach out. ASDA is kind of a political organization, so I am an elected official of the district. It's my job to help you get involved and help you get what you need.
Okay. And Dr. Choi, do you have anything to add to the ASDA piece to it?
Yeah, so a lot of people, they're like, well, I'm not involved in ASDA, you know, like I'm not on eBoard, so like how can I get these connections? The thing is, you just need to show up. I know it's a little hard with COVID going on right now, but I know they have virtual events, so just make sure you attend those, and just, you got to keep the connections going. It's all about networking. Jeff, I don't know if you remember this, but I met you as a first year. You and Molly Horsington at a dinner, and I had no idea that I was going to be working for you guys, because I was actually dead set on doing a GPR, but that kind of opened up the DSO doors for me, and like now I'm here, you know. So just attend. Like 80% is of like just showing up, you know. So just show up, keep those connections, and as long as like you don't have to be on eBoard, as long as you're like attending and you talk to people, you'll get what you want, and you just have to, you know, vocalize what you want.
How could I forget? Of course I remember. Dr. Bednarski, how about your story with ASDA? What do you think?
Yeah, so for me, I don't have any family in the field, and dentistry was kind of a, I don't want to say random choice for me, but it was tough in the beginning, you know, not really knowing where to go and what I was going to do after graduation and everything. So for me, I also moved to Columbus, Ohio by myself. I didn't really know anyone out there. And I had heard about ASDA through some random like welcome week, like bar crawl events or whatever. And they had told me that it was the biggest student organization in the country. And I was like, wow, like if I'm going to get anywhere in life and network, I might as well join the biggest network of people. So that's how I got involved with ASDA as a first year. And I actually got invited to go to annual session that year as a first year, where I got to meet, you know, more reps like Jeff, and just learn more about, you know, different dental like jobs out there, different places to go and whatnot, and more students to learn from and see how their schools were. And then I kind of climbed the ladder and sat on the board of trustees as a third, fourth year with ASDA. I was with District 6 out in Ohio. But to me, just making those connections, again, was super important, because I wanted to have more choices closer to graduation and working and networking and mentoring and whatnot. I didn't really want to be pigeonholed into one set spot that I could be in. But that's kind of what drew me to Aspen too, was the fact that they are the biggest network of dentists in the country. So it's kind of like ASDA in like now career mode, because I get to have this huge network of dentists who are my colleagues now. Aspen, it like similar to ASDA, is like a big family. I've known Jeff now for 5 years, maybe more than that. I don't know. I met you when I was like maybe a first or second year. And I still chat with Jeff. I still text him all the time and, you know, ask how things are and whatnot, and keep up with his family. And he does the same for me. So it's like, it's nice to have that network of people all across the country, kind of like I did with ASDA. I don't think you need to be, you know, super, super involved to make those connections now. Like Ari said, it just, you know, just ask and go for what you want and what you are hoping to get out of a career in this wonderful field. And just chatting even with someone like myself, with Ari, with Jeff, or with Aaliyah, I mean, we have a plethora of knowledge, and it just never hurts to ask. That's the one thing I learned with ASDA, is it never ever hurts to ask. So hopefully you'll get, you know, what you want just by asking a couple questions.
Yeah, that's great, guys. And, you know, I think that we discussed that with ASDA, how do you become involved and that kind of thing. And the question was also, how do you get involved with Aspen Dental? And I think you guys all nailed it all in one, to be honest with you. And actually, the next question I was going to ask is, I hear from everyone that the culture at Aspen Dental is really great. What does that mean to you? And can we do that in Dr. Choi and Dr. Bednarski in 5 words or less? What does the culture mean to you, Dr. Choi?
It won't be a complete sentence. I would say 2 words come to, well, actually 3.
Right.
Would be synergistic, 2 would be positivity, and then 3 would be family. Obviously, I haven't started working in an office yet, but what took me to get to this point is because Aspen has been like a family. Like, ASDA was my family, you know, when I was in dental school, and it still is, but like, you know, now I've grown up, and so now I'm in the Aspen family, but they always made me feel like I was a part of something, instead of like, oh, you're just this little student, you know? So I really like.
You just completely passed your exam and then failed it.
What?
3 words or less, you nailed 5, you got it in 3, and then you just. I'm just kidding. It's hard. I get it. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Dr. Bednarski, 5 words or less. How do you describe Aspen Dental?
I would say family aspect is big as well. But also my motto for all things life, work hard, play hard, is a big Aspen motto too. But again, just having that whole network of people, you have the doctors that all work for Aspen, then you have people like Jeff who work for ADMI, and we're all kind of intermingled in each other's lives, whether we like it or not. But you're not only surrounded by dentists, you have business people, you have people who can help manage and whatnot too. And, you know, we do get together before COVID. Next month we would have been at the leadership retreat, and like God knows where. Last year was in Miami. It was so fun. But it is nice to have that network of people. But again, work hard, play hard, I think is a good motto with Aspen in general.
Awesome. Yeah, culture is very, very important. And I found a family here, and I knew it right away. So it's fantastic that you guys remember all that stuff. So let's switch gears here a little bit. Dr. Bednarski, you initially signed a contract with Aspen, and assuming you had an image or prediction of what working with Aspen would be like, can you describe some of the aspects that differed from the image or surprised you once you started? So what did you think, and then what it was, and what was surprising and what was not?
I feel like they set things up pretty fairly for me as far as expectations of what was expected of me as an associate. But to me, I was going to treat it like a GPR. Again, I wanted to do a GPR. I didn't get in. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do 1 year. I'm going to gain some experience, get a little bit better at my skills, live in a cool new city. And then I'm going to go back to Chicago and go back to private practice and actually do things the way that I had planned in my own brain. And, mostly because of the culture is what's kept me around. And the fact that I do have autonomy now, I basically am the only dentist in the practice. I have my practice owner to, fall back on, but he's not there every single day. I'm in the practice every day, seeing my own patients every day. So it's been a nice, stepping stone from associate to where I'm at now. But again, I thought I was only going to do a year, and now I'm starting year number 3 with Aspen, which is cool. So I feel like overall, the amount of clinical knowledge I've gained over the last couple of years was something I wasn't expecting. I thought it was going to be pretty basic dentistry that I was just going to be getting better at. My practice owner loves surgery, so I've been able to do implants. I've done crown lengthening surgeries. I've done more clinical stuff than I earlier anticipated, I guess. But as far as like my contract and the expectations of me with, you know, the hours that I have and the amount of patients I'd be seeing in a day and things like that, I feel like everything was pretty up to par as far as what I expected. There weren't really any surprises, and I still have yet to really see any surprises of, you know, what was maybe promised to me or whatever. Everything's been pretty, you know, it was pretty straightforward.
Speaking of contracts, Dr. Choi, how many pages was your contract?
It was like 3. Oh, also Jeff, correction. It's not a contract. It's an agreement.
Oh, thank you for correcting me. I really appreciate that. What was I thinking? So our dentists sign a letter of agreement, which outlines things such as where you're located, what your pay, what your compensation. They send you a benefits package and things of that nature. Nowhere on there, even though you do sign your name, nowhere on there is there a term. So it's not a 6-month, 12-month, 18-month, or 2-month term contract. It's an at-will employee. And so you're never, you know, there's no repercussions if you take off, right? The other thing is there's no restricted covenant. And what that means is that if you sign with Aspen Dental, work there for 2 years, you know, in Seaport, Boston, then you can continue to work in Seaport, Boston afterwards without any repercussions as well. Meaning you can treat patients for another organization and there's no geographic limitations to that. And that goes to family. We want to be transparent in the whole process and treat you like family from day one. And if it doesn't work out, then that's fine. You're more than welcome to go wherever you want. Secondly, we truly don't want unhappy dentists treating our patients for an extended period of time. We'd rather have somebody there that's glad to be there. And that leads to another question. And the question is, what is your target demographic for patients? And I think this leads to family as well, but go ahead, Dr. Bednarski, why don't you give that one a shot? What is the demographic patient that you're treating?
Yeah, so there's 2 target demographic patients with Aspen Dental. The first one is more so like blue collar America, typical patients anywhere from like 45 to 65, maybe doesn't have an established dental home yet, or they've had it. Aspen, I feel like, is turning into a little bit of like an urgent care setting because we do take in walk-ins, we see patients same day, we always are seeing new patients. So a lot of the Aspen practices are in more like suburbia than in downtown locations. I think they're going to start expanding in downtown locations, but it's predominantly been in like suburban spots in the country. So that's kind of one demographic. Then another demographic is more elderly retired, people who are looking for replacement tooth options. That was kind of the prime model before, you know, technologies have started getting more and more advanced. So the elderly, you know, denture wearer was kind of the other target population. But now I wouldn't really say there is one set target population or, you know, target patient that we're seeing. Aspens are all over the country, and, you know, we don't turn down any patients because of, you know, insurance purposes or, you know, demographics or anything like that. Everyone is pretty open to see all kinds of patients, whether they're going to be paying out of pocket with insurance, maybe with, you know, Mass Health or some kind of other insurance here. We don't take Mass Health, but we're always seeing new patients. We offer a $0 new patient exam, which is pretty unheard of in the industry, just to try and get patients to say yes to either all of their care or even just their chief complaint for that day.
Great. Listen, I didn't even realize this. It's after 8 o'clock, and I definitely want to be respectful. Dr. Bednarski, this last one question is, will you become a practice owner? Yes or no?
TBD.
Okay, so maybe.
Yeah, I always said no, and, you know, year 3 is making me think maybe. I don't know yet, but it's still TBD.
Another question, I'll just answer this real quickly. It says, do you sponsor international students? And if so, what type of sponsors? Listen, we do sponsor international students. We do sponsor H-1Bs. We do sponsor TNs from Canada. But I will say this, it's on an individual basis, and there's a lot of hoops to jump through to do that, but we will work with the right candidate. If you have a question, you know, for follow-up with that, you can certainly reach out to me personally, and you'll be getting my information if you don't have it already. Another question is, is it okay to ask for the panelists' email? If that's okay with the panelists, I certainly will share that. I'm getting a lot of nods, yes. So I will share that in a follow-up. So, I think I'm going to stop here just because the panelists have taken so much of their time and I want to be very respectful. If anybody wants to stay on the line afterwards, you're more than welcome. I'll stay on for 5 to 10 minutes. But I'm going to give this opportunity for the panelists to say one last thought and goodbye. But before I do that, I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. You guys were rock stars tonight and you are awesome, and thank you. Dr. Choi, any last thoughts?
Thanks for having us, Jeff. Also, I know a lot of people are concerned, especially like the new fourth years with COVID going on and not being able to get enough clinic time. And they're nervous. They're like, oh, I should do a GPR program. And I'm not opposed to that either, because I know I was going to do a GPR program. You have to kind of do what you're comfortable with. But I think the biggest take-home message in terms of that is that you should just find a really good mentor. Because in dentistry, you're constantly learning. You need someone there to like kind of guide you. And then one day, you're going to be a mentor to someone as well. So just make sure you find a good mentor and go with and do your research as well. You hear all these things left and right, but you got to like kind of form your own opinions from the research that you gathered. So thank you for having me. And it was a pleasure seeing you all today.
Thank you so much. I truly mean it. Thank you. Dr. Bednarski, how about you?
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add. I am always available. So Jeff will give you guys my contact info. Again, I've been with Aspen for over 2 years now, and I'm still with the company for a reason. They've treated me well, and they've helped me grow as a clinician more than I would have ever expected. I'm so very grateful for the opportunity to be here and to, be speaking on behalf of Aspen. So thanks for inviting me. I wish you all the best of luck, whether you're a first year, second, third, or fourth. I can't imagine being in your shoes in school right now. I've chatted with friends who are still at Ohio State, and it's such a weird time. So I just hope that you guys still get, the same experience that we all did in school too. But know that once you're done, you do know more than you think you do, and easier said than done. But you'll be surprised even in the first couple of months of working, whether that's with Aspen or not, you do have a lot more knowledge than you think. So thanks for setting this up for Jeff. Super grateful that you thought of me to join you guys. But yeah, if anyone ever has questions, reach out to me either through email or through social media or whatever. I'm an open book.
Awesome. And last but not least, I should say, Aaliyah, what do you have to say to your co-students, I should say?
Well, of course, Jeff, I would like to thank you and Aspen Dental. I'd like to thank you for your support of ASDA. I'd like to thank Dr. Bernarski and Dr. Choi for their candid responses, and just to all the viewers out here. We actually didn't receive any of the questions in advance. So you are seeing candid responses. And for me, that's my biggest takeaway, is that it's important to me that I have, that I don't walk into my next step blind. Especially as a non-traditional student, and not just that, but as someone who's going to be carrying $400,000 in loans with me, I don't really want surprises. I want to know that what I'm doing is the right next move for me. And so I would encourage you guys to take advantage of your networking opportunities. And if you guys enjoyed this, please reach out to me. We'd be happy to set up additional times for you to talk with additional doctors. So thank you for attending, and thank you again for all of our Aspen dentists and supporters. We miss you guys. So see you soon.
We miss you too. Thank you so much. And I will say this, we'll be doing follow-up Ask Me Anythings. If anybody has ideas on who you'd like to see on the panel, whether it be somebody from business operations or compliance during this COVID time, or some of our, team of doctors that are mentors or owner dentists, anything, let us know. Just feedback is fantastic, guys. Thank you all very much. And panelists, you're all dismissed. I appreciate your participation. We'll catch up soon.
I'm going to leave you guys with this beautiful
Oh.
sunset.
Oh, that's not my view.
Views from an MCD. That's what this is.
Is that Seaport?
It's
Yep.
beautiful. I miss Boston.
Yeah.
Oh.
Miss you too. All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I'll
you
see you
bet.
guys
Talk
next
Good night,
time.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Again, you guys are welcome to ask any other questions. No. Going once, going twice, and I'm signing off. Thank you, everybody.